the potential number of individual things are crazy high if we're really thinking about it. I think sometimes we like to subcategorize things just for the easy conversation. Like I think, in there it says divorce, loss of a job, increase in financial obligations. I think for today we've just been like, okay, it could be just financial stress, and we'll just bucket, losing a job and financial stress into that one. But I think if you scroll up a bit more, I did see something interesting, and it kind of ties something I was hinting at before. Oh, the other way. So a little bit towards the top of the article.
So here you go.
Our audio listeners are having a great time right now, yeah? Right. So we need stresses. And I think one of the things is in life, because we're talking about the negatives of stress, well, we might say, well, why do anything if stress is so terrible? And it's kind of a default of some of the stuff we need. So in this second example, it says having heavy workloads or too much responsibility. And it is true that you can take on too much responsibility. But here's the thing about responsibility. So some of the listeners might be aware of a guy called Jordan Peterson. He's like 150 IQ, leading psychologist. And him and a lot of other people have concluded that the meaning of life is responsibility. So it's like, okay, we need responsibility, but there's only so much we can handle. So almost like training volume, you could look at it. We need a degree of training volume, but we're almost limited by how much we can handle. What we could then look into is we try and find things, okay, what is going to maximize our responsibility that won't overtake our stress thresholds? Now, you could just like add more and more of the same thing at a similar ratio, but often we're looking for things that are going to optimize our responsibility to stress ratio. So if there is a task that's going to deliver more responsibility to you in relation to how much stress that will bring you back down, is a good investment, a good choice. But at the end of the day, we need to be aware that again, we can have too many stresses. And then if that happens, then all your responsibilities, fall out the window. So I think it's definitely just a managing game. So I think with like, sorry.
I'm just going to put this out here. FYI, that's a spoiler alert for The Lion King. All right? Continue with what you're saying.
Yeah, it is. Simba finally takes responsibility, comes home. So then it ties to like, the how do we manage it question. So again, the first part we do need to realize is it's going to be there. And whether we want it there or we don't, it's going to be there. And it's going to be a combination at the end of the day. We're going to have stresses that we choose and stresses that we don't. So what we can do is make sure we potentially have enough room that if those shit hits the fan, unplanned stresses come in, we're still okay. We're not a complete mess. We leave a little bit of room in reserve, if you will. But then you fill up the things with those that are most important to you, So you look into your life and like, okay, what is going to be a necessity? I can't run away from financial stress. I'm not in some weird scenario where my dad was a billionaire or whatever. I need to work. So that there are stresses that are going to have to be there. So you look across your life and all the dimensions of, your health, your relationships with family, friends, and, romantic side of things, your career, your finances. You look at all these different things. There's going to be a minimum amount of stress you got there.
100%.
You pile those in. They're going to be there. And then on top of that, anything you put on top of that, or you preferentially move up, higher or lower among those things based on what's the limiting factor and what can help you across the board or what you're most interested in, you fill up that next. So again, we do need the stress, but we need to make sure we're filling in the right thing that's going to have the best return on investment. And then we need to look at all the markers of, you have little performance markers amongst all those different things to make sure you're not doing too much and you're still progressing. Ties back to progress. And then you have almost chronic markers. Like if my sum of those 6 different variables are more than I can handle, then I need to make sure I'm okay. And people talk about stress management strategies in terms of like, winding down, chilling out. In that stress bucket analogy, I think I once had of your bucket is how much stress you can handle. You're pouring water, that's a stress. Imagine stress management, your meditation, your this and that is like poking holes in that bucket. So a little bit of water leaks out. So it's not like, you can overflow as quick. But I think what, Nick was talking about the person before is you can get scenarios where those little leaks can go away at 1 liter an hour, for example. But if you're pouring in 2 liters an hour, then the surplus is just going to overrun it.
Exactly.
So you need to make sure you've got metrics among all those things and manage your life the best you can to make sure we're progressing, but we're not doing too much that we're halting. We've got to do enough. So it's one of those weird things. We can't do nothing. We've got to do something. We've got to make sure it's the right amount, and we've got to have good metrics to look at it.
Yeah. So like every major like stress out there, we've got to really try and find ways to, find ways to de-stress it. So every stress has a de-stress kind of thing.
And even like back to what sorry, I thought I was going to give you a speech for a second, again, the delay. But even like, you find what's the de-stress after that. Well, what the hell caused our stress in the first place? Is it necessary? And what triggers it? Because if it's a disproportionately high stress that you got for such a simple thing, that is something we should look into. You carry on, Nick?
No. That's basically it.
Thank you for watching the Forge podcast. If you enjoyed it, we'd love for you to subscribe. If you want to find out more about us, check the description. And as always, thank you for listening.